Ready to bring the sound of your business to life? We're ready to help. This video will guide you through all you need to know to get your music player installed and playing overhead. If at any time during the installation you have a question, our team is always ready to help. You can reach us at 763-595-8000. Now, let's get started. To complete the installation, there are a few things you'll want to be prepared with. This includes a power supply, 1 or 2 RCA to RCA audio cables, depending on the services you've purchased. If you're only using one zone of music, all you need is one. If you're using your music player for on-hold messaging or another zone of music, you'll need one for each. Please note, if you're using something other than a commercial amplifier, you may need a different type of audio cable, like an RCA to 3.5mm, RCA splitter, or other. A power surge protector. Using a power surge protector isn't just good practice, it also ensures your player follows warranty requirements. If you already have one ready to use, that's perfect. An Ethernet cable. This will be used for your player to receive updates over the network. Be sure you have communicated any special network requirements or setup with your Voice Solutions representative to ensure connectivity. You'll also want to make sure your cable is long enough to extend from your music player to your router. Once you have everything we've mentioned, you should be ready to get started. Let's take a look at your music player so we can familiarize ourselves with the equipment a bit. This is the iLink LCD player. It features an LCD screen for easy view of player and content information. It also features some interactive functions that we'll discuss later. Here you'll see the Ethernet port, power switch, and power port. If we turn the player around, you'll see the audio input and output ports. Now let's turn the player around and get a look at where we'll be hooking everything up. First, grab your Ethernet cable and plug one end into the Ethernet port, as shown here. The other end should go into an open, numbered port on your router. Your business might require a specific port or router be used for this. If so, you'll want to locate the proper place to plug the Ethernet cable in. Please note, there are many different brands and models of routers, and yours might look different than the one shown in this example. Next, grab one of your audio cables and plug the RCA end into channel A out, found here on the side of the player. Be sure you're using the right fit for the output. If it feels too loose or too tight, you likely have the wrong cable. The other end of the cable will go into your amplifier. As we mentioned, most commercial grade amplifiers have an RCA input, though you may have a different amplifier. Before you plug anything from the player into the amplifier, make sure the amp is turned off and unplugged to avoid any potential power surges. Take your RCA cable and plug it into the available input on your amplifier. On most commercial amplifiers, the input will be labeled with something like Input 2, as shown here in this video. Consumer grade amplifiers will have a pair of connections usually colored red and white or black and white. In this case, an RCA splitter or Y cable may be necessary. Plug the cable from the output of the music player into the single end of the RCA splitter and then plug the red connector into the red input and the white connector into the black or white input. Make note of what this input is called. In our experience, the CD input is often best. If you're using two zones of music, you can repeat this step going from channel B out and into your amplifier or phone system if you're installing your messaging on hold. Now go ahead and make sure you've got your power supply cable plugged into the music player and the other end plugged into an open space in your power surge protector. Now you should have everything all set up just as you need it. Let's go ahead and power the player on. Your screen will light up and the player will let you know it's booting, and will then go into initializing. During this time, you will not hear any music. Once the player is done loading, you'll see the playlist name on the first line and an IP address on the second line. At this point, go ahead and plug your amplifier back in and power it back on. With commercial amplifiers, look for the Input 2 knob or the aux knob. This knob can be located on the front or the back of the particular model you're using. In our example, the Input 2 knob is on the front of the amplifier. Next, adjust the volume to an appropriate level for your location. In some cases, it may also be necessary to adjust the master volume, as shown here, to achieve the correct sound levels. With consumer amplifiers, it'll be necessary to first select the input your music player is connected to. Finally, increase the volume until you're comfortable with the music level in your location. If you do not hear music, double check the connections and make sure your volume is at the proper level and that the proper input has been selected. Now there's just one last thing to do. Verify that your player is online with a Voice Solutions representative. This will ensure your player can receive updates and download them as they are available. It also allows us to verify that everything looks good on the back end. To do this, simply call us at 763-595-8000 and select option 0.